सांगणार होतो.
हरि ओम इंद्रा.
हाय.
हरि ओम मास्टर सर.
इससे आसान वॉल्यूम्स कर चुके हैं, लेकिन ये भी इसी का नतीजा है कि करना तो है चॉकलेट के साथ.
सभी को विनंती है वे अपने आप को म्यूट रखें. पूरे सेशन के दरमियान अपने आप को म्यूट रखें. केवल आखिर में क्वेश्चन आंसर सेशन है, उसके दरमियान आप अपने आप को जब भी बोलना है जिसको वे अनम्यूट कर सकते हैं, अन्यथा हमेशा म्यूट ही रखें. दैट इज द कंडीशन इन जूम मीटिंग.
हरि ओम. सबको IYA की तरफ से वेलकम. हम लोग महाराष्ट्र चैप्टर IYA जो है वो हर महीने एक वेबिनार अरेंज करने की सोचते हैं. एक्चुअली पेंडेमिक में वो बहुत ही रेगुलरली होता था, क्योंकि सभी लोग घर में ही थे, तो इट वाज पॉसिबल टू कनेक्ट. लेकिन अभी कुछ दिनों के बाद थोड़ा सा उसमें इरेगुलरिटी आया है, नो डाउट. लेकिन फिर भी वॉट एवर वी डिसाइड, एटलीस्ट 4 times or 5 times in a year we should try to coordinate. लास्ट टाइम हमारा 3 महीने पहले सेशन हुआ था. इट वाज कनेक्टेड विथ शुद्धि क्रिया सेशन बाय योग विद्या निकेतन ओनली. इस टाइम भी हम लोगों ने योगादशी पर रिक्वेस्ट किया और उन्होंने इमीडिएटली सब अरेंजमेंट करके इस वेबिनार को संपन्न करने में बहुत अच्छी तरह से इनिशिएटिव लिया है. हमारी यही इच्छा रहती है कि बहुत सारी संस्थाओं से अलग अलग लोग आए, अपने अपनी फिलॉसफी जो होती है योगा की तरफ देखने का, उनका हर एक का अंदाज अलग अलग होता है, उसको लोगों के सामने लाए और लोगों की ज्ञान में थोड़ी सी वृद्धि हो. उनके अप्रोचेस जो बहुत बार रिजिड हो जाते हैं उसमें थोड़ी सी लचीलापन आए, वो थोड़ी बदलने की कोशिश करें. एक्सेप्टेंस जो है हर चीज का होने की इच्छा मन में होनी चाहिए, वो विचार रखते हुए बहुत सारी संस्थाओं को हम लोगों ने यहाँ पार्टिसिपेट होने के लिए रिक्वेस्ट भी किया है. जो प्राइमरी इंस्टीट्यूशन है महाराष्ट्र में योग के कार्य में क्षेत्र में कार्य करने वाली, उन सभी संस्थाओं ने एक एक बार तो कम से कम अपना सहभाग दिया ही है. लेकिन अभी और उनसे एक और विनती है कि जो उनके और एक कोई स्पीकर्स हो, कोई वक्ता हो, या कोई विषय उनको विशद करने की इच्छा हो, तो जरूर हमें रिस्पांस दे, उसके लिए कांटेक्ट करें. शायद हर महीना पॉसिबल होगा कि नहीं इसके बारे में थोड़ी शंका है. प्रयत्न तो रहेगा, लेकिन कुछ टाइम सभी लोगों की इन्वॉल्वमेंट रहती है, कोई की एग्जाम्स रहती है. बहुत सारी संस्थाओं ने अपने अपने कोर्सेज चालू किए हैं, कोई लोगों ने MA का एफिलिएशन लिया है. तो देयर आर सो मेनी थिंग्स व्हिच आर कमिंग एट ए टाइम. तो एटलीस्ट ट्वाइस 2 महीने के बाद एक तो डेफिनेटली हम लोग कोशिश करेंगे ही करेंगे, नो डाउट अबाउट दैट. तो इस मंथ की जो श्रृंखला है उसमें सबसे पहले हम विनोद जोशी जी का स्वागत करते हैं यहाँ. जो योग विद्या निकेतन के ट्रस्टी भी है और ट्रेजरर भी है। बेसिक्स ऑफ सांख्य फिलोसॉफी, ये बहुत ही इंटरेस्टिंग टॉपिक उन्होंने लिया है। फिलोसॉफिकल सब्जेक्ट लेने के बाद थोड़ा ऐसा हो सकता है कि इस पे क्या हम लोग सुन सकते हैं, इसके लिए मेरे मन में भी बहुत उत्सुकता है। तो IYA महाराष्ट्र यूनिट की तरफ से फिर से एक बार मैं सभी का स्वागत करता हूं, और आगे की जो कार्रवाई है उसके लिए मैं दुर्गादास जी को रिक्वेस्ट करता हूं कि वो प्रमुख वक्ता का परिचय करवा के दे और उन्हें हम लोग बाद में सुनेंगे। हरिओम। और एक रिक्वेस्ट है सभी लोगों को जो जूम पे ज्वाइन हुए हैं, वक्ता छोड़ के बाकी सभी लोगों ने अपने माइक्स को म्यूट रखना है कृपा करके, क्योंकि उससे बहुत डिस्टर्बेंस हो जाती है। ओके, ओवर टू सावंत जी।
धन्यवाद श्री कृष्ण मास्टर जी। मुझे लगता हम एक ओंकार से शुरुआत करते हैं। सीधा बैठिए अपने अपने जगह पे, कंधे पीछे हो, रीढ़ की हड्डी सीधी हो, आंखें बंद, आराम से सांस चालू है अंदर बाहर। एक गहरा सांस अंदर भरी। ओंकार के स्पंदनों का सकारात्मक परिणाम अपने शरीर तथा मन पर अनुभव। धीरे से आंखें खोलें। धन्यवाद। आज विनोद जोशी जी एक बहुत अच्छे वक्ता है। योग विद्या निकेतन में गत 40 वर्ष से इस क्षेत्र में वे कार्यरत है और अभी योग विद्या निकेतन के ट्रस्टी है। उनका जो एजुकेशन है वो MSc केमिस्ट्री में, ऑर्गेनिक केमिस्ट्री में, और फिर उनका स्पेशलाइजेशन पेंट था, पेंट एंड कलर्स, और उसी क्षेत्र में उन्होंने कुछ बरस काम किया और अपना खुद का इंडस्ट्रियल पेंट बनाने वाला एक यूनिट तारापुर में उन्होंने चालू किया। अनेक बरस से वे यह कार्यरत है और मुंबई यूनिवर्सिटी में इस पेंट टेक्नोलॉजी के वे फैकल्टी है, विजिटिंग फैकल्टी। जो कार्य इस प्रोडक्शन में उन्होंने किया, उसके कारण डॉक्टर हिदायतुल्लाह जब वाइस प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ इंडिया थे, उनकी तरफ से उनका फेलिसिटेशन हुआ इसी संदर्भ में। और दूसरे एक बात ऐसी है कि अभी मतलब इसी बरस जो अभी जनवरी सेकंड वीक में, जो थर्ड वीक में, थर्ड संडे को जो मैराथन हुआ, मुंबई मैराथन, अब तक अलग अलग जगह पे वे हाफ मैराथन यानी कि 21 किलोमीटर वे दौड़े हैं। और ये जो था अभी जनवरी 2023 का, ये हाफ मैराथन का हाफ सेंचुरी था, यानी कि 50वीं हाफ मैराथन वे दौड़े। अभी उनकी उम्र 68 वर्ष है। और दूसरी उनकी खासियत कि दोस्त बनाना उनको बहुत पसंद है और कुछ ना कुछ पढ़ाई करते रहते हैं। सोमैया कॉलेज में उनका सांख्य का या योग दर्शन का अभ्यास चालू रहता है और एक विषय को बहुत ही आसान बना के बताना, ये उनकी खासियत है। ऐसा शिक्षक की परिभाषा वही है, अ टीचर इज वन हु मेक्स डिफिकल्ट थिंग्स सिंपल। तो सांख्य जैसा एक गहन विषय है तत्व ज्ञान का, लेकिन वो अपने अंदाज में बहुत आसानी से बताने का उनका एक अंदाज है। उससे हम आज परिचित हो जाएंगे। और ज्यादा कुछ बात किए बगैर मैं वक्ता और आपके बीच में से बाजू में हटता हूं। तो विनोद जोशी सर, ट्रस्टी ऑफ योग विद्या निकेतन, ऑन बेसिक्स ऑफ सांख्य फिलोसॉफी, प्लीज सर।
सुरासुरा सेवी,
वेलकम यू।
सॉरी, सुरासुरा सेवित पाद पंकजा करे विराजित कमनीय पुस्तका विदेश पत्नी कमलासन प्रिया
Please continue, sir.
सरस्वती मेसदा. Friends, I am really thankful to Indian Yoga Association Maharashtra chapter, Sri Krishna Maskar sir, Secretary of Indian Yoga Association Maharashtra chapter, Sri Durgadas Sawan, Vice Chairman of IYA, and Dr. Satish Pathak, Vice Chairman again of IYA, and of course you all. Because as Savanza said, my sole purpose of coming here is to make more and more friends. Correct. So before we start the subject, I would like to express my gratitude to two of my teachers who, taught me both the subjects, like Nimbalkar Guruji, who taught me about the yoga, and Dr. Rudraksha Sakrikar for teaching me Sankhya philosophy. Of course, within a span of say 60 minutes or 75 minutes, we will not be able to cover the entire philosophy. But I will try and have a different approach because, as I have understood, the friends who have joined here, friends or very senior people who have joined here, I would prefer to put them into two groups. One is that who have learnt, Yoga Sutras, Patanjali Yoga Sutras very thoroughly. They have studied Sankhya philosophy very thoroughly. And they know everything about it in the sense that Purusha and Prakriti, the basic concepts, and 25 elements that Sage Kapila talked about. For them, it may be repetition, but it will not be straight repetition for the simple reason that all the time, whenever we start learning Sankhya philosophy, we start learning with these two basic principles. This being a Dvaita philosophy, we start with learning these two principles, which is Purusha and Prakriti. And then slowly and gradually we go to all the evolutes. Today we'll have fun of, driving the same car, but in a reverse gear. So not that, it's just as per my whims and mercies, but if at all we have understood the education principles, then we normally try to understand, any subject with the basic thing like from known to unknown, or for simple to complex, or from gross to subtle. So rather than, starting our studies with the subtlest of the elements which are proposed in Sankhya philosophy, we start with gross, and that's the reason I talk to you that, we will be driving our vehicle in the reverse here all throughout our lecture, and in the process probably, at least if you may not get the new elements in the lecture, but at least you will understand, or you will try to enjoy the same route, but driven in a reverse direction. There are few others like me, who feel that philosophy is not our subject. It's something which is very serious subject, which is not for us, and that is only for the people who would like to go for higher and higher progressive steps in their life towards the spiritual path. And the general, in a friendly conversation, when we talk about philosophy, and if they are requested to express their viewpoint about learning philosophy, the simplest sentence that we hear is, yeah, that subject is good there, but that is not my cup of tea. Yeah. So taking some clue from this particular sentence itself, I will try and revolve around this comment, and I will try to change their concept in the sense that by end of this discussion what we are going to have, they will have some idea, or they will have some opinion, like philosophy is as simple and as relevant as making a cup of tea. So we'll try and focus entire discussion starting with a cup of tea, so that makes you totally awake. And then gradually we'll move on to the philosophical discussion, and we'll evolve all the elements which have been proposed by Sankhya. Let us understand what exactly is the formula or composition of a tea that we enjoy. Leave aside the secret formula that you have about putting ginger and putting masala and putting so many things, which is very proprietary, like a formula of a Coke. But for a general person, if at all we have to understand about the formulation of a tea, we can say it's primarily a tea powder and or sugar. Suppose, I don't know, some of you may not be having a sugar, so tea powder definitely is a must. So tea powder and sugar, it's optional. Maybe a milk and water. Correct. There again, if you are having a choice of black tea, probably milk is optional. Then you, with all these ingredients, you need some kind of energy. You need some, energy to extract the chemicals which are there in the tea leaves and give you that kind of a fragrance and the taste and all those things. So you need some kind of energy, some kind of a heat. Correct? And to produce that heat, you need the gas which you have in the kitchen. Yeah. So the gas, when we ignite and we get a flame, then we start making a tea. These are all very, the ingredient that most of us, we can list out just by our common sense. The last one that I'm going to talk about is something that never comes to our mind. And even if we have everything, we have all the ingredients, we have the, the gas. There is one thing which is absolutely important, which we, most of the time we miss. And that is, we also need a container to make a tea, And what is that container? What is the specialty of that container? We need that container which is absolutely empty. We can't have a full container which is full of milk, full of water, or full of anything else. And that we cannot use for making a cup of tea and enjoy it. So in short, we have listed out all the ingredients that we have as regards the tea, which are tea powder, sugar, milk and water, energy or a heat, and the cooking gas, and the empty vessel. Now let us, with this particular ingredients list that we have, let us go back to our school days and when we learnt about the states of matter. If you recollect in our good old days, we were told that whatever you have in this universe, it can be divided into 3 states, because matter have only 3 states. One is either solid, second is liquid, and third is gaseous. Correct? So let us divide these ingredients that we have listed into these 3 ingredients, like say tea powder and sugar will be solid, milk and water are liquids, the heat or energy is a energy that brings in transformation or boiling the tea, and a cooking gas, which is a gas, and of course, an empty vessel, which is the emptiness. If at all, we have to correlate this with the evolutes that are proposed in Sankhya philosophy, correct? Then we try and understand that, whatever we are talked about, the solid is classified in Sankhya philosophy as a Prithvi or earth. If you talk about the Panchamahabhutas, so Prithvi or earth is something which is solid. Jala or water is something which is liquid. And Tej or fire, Agni, that is the third, which is energy. Vayu or air, that is a gas. And Akash or space is the emptiness. So all the Panchamahabhutas, which are the grossest forms in Sankhya philosophy, we could derive only from understanding the ingredients of a tea. Now here I would like to spend a couple of minutes in clarifying that, because the nomenclatures are same, many a times we get misguided. Like, when we talk of Prithvi or earth, the first thing that comes to our mind is the planet Earth, on which, all of us are living. It is revolving around the sun. We call it as Mother Earth and all those things. So when we are talking of Sankhya philosophy, the meaning of the word Prithvi or earth is not the same that we normally understand in our communication. But anything which is solid, or anything which do not have any fluidity, correct? Solid without any kind of a fluidity, which will be called as a Prithvi or earth. So whatever you have in front of you, which is solid, which is not flowing, that will go under the category of Prithvi or earth. The next is Jala or water. Now this is again the same terminology that we use, of water which we use for quenching our thirst, washing our utensils, and we use for so many other purposes. And even we know that 75% of the surface of the earth is covered with water. So though the nomenclature is same, water or Jala, In Sankhya philosophy, it doesn't restrict only for the H2O water, but it talks about any substance which exists in this universe, which has a fluidity, which can flow. So this is the second element that we have. The third element that we talked about, tej or fire. Normally we try to understand it by way of a flame, correct, or something which gives us a illumination, the light. Here, tej or fire has two properties. One is the illumination, and second is the transformation. So, a tea powder which we have for extraction of whether the tea extracts in a boiling water, we are using it as a media for transforming a normal water into a concentrated extract of the tea. And the fourth one, we talked about vayu and air. The normal that thing comes to our mind is the air or the atmosphere that surrounds our Mother Earth. So again, that is not a right understanding as far as Sankhya philosophy is concerned. But anything which has a 100% miscibility, very easily they can mix to each other. Correct? That will be called as a vayu or air. The last one is akash or space. Again, we get confused with when we talk of akash or sky, with the blue sky that we see on the top. And recently we have enjoyed playing the kites for Makar Sankranti. And we see the aeroplanes and the birds flying and whatnot. Now, the meaning in Sankhya philosophy is not restricted only to the blue sky that you and I see on the top of our head, but it is empty space. Now, at macro level, probably I can say that whatever is the empty space in between the atom itself, that is the space between the nuclei and the revolving electron. That will be probably at a macro level we can call it as a akash or a space. At macro level, probably, whenever we are talking about all these constellation of stars and all these things, in between whatever is the distance, in between area where we feel that there is nothing, correct? Yeah. So that is at the macro level, we can say that that is what is an akash. So we talked about the five Mahabhutas that appear in Sankhya, and we try to understand what they are and what they are not. Correct? So Prithvi, when we talked about, we did not refer only to the Mother Earth, but anything which is solid. And accordingly, we have just we went forward and understood the five Mahabhutas, which are the grossest elements as far as the Sankhya evolution chart is concerned. Now, if you just try and understand some of the qualities of the tea that we enjoy, because again and again I will be coming back to the tea because that is what is our base on which we are going to understand the entire Sankhya philosophy. So, if we come back to the qualities of the tea that we talk about, and the first thing that everyone has his own specific brand. Somebody may be using somebody may be using some Wagh Bakri. The common thing that we talk about is the smell. So whenever we make a tea, and probably most of you might have also seen the that comes on the TV as regards tea manufacturer make a tea, and that fragrance of the tea powder is coming out. Initially, when the wife requested husband that let us go and sit there, so he was a bit hesitant. But the moment that aroma, that fragrance of the tea came, he gets attracted and he says, the important characteristic of a tea which is used in this advertisement is the smell. And again, to correlate with the Mahabhutas that we talked about, correct? So that particular property or that particular, in philosophical term, what we call as the subtlest element or subtle element, we call them as a tanmatra. So that smell, tanmatra of a smells, tanmatra of a gandha is attributed to Prithvi. Okay. And you also must have observed that, whenever there is a first rain, you get some typical smell. And, even if you're not seeing the rain outside, but by Anuman, you can definitely with the smell that you get, you can conclude that the first showers have come. The next element that, or next subtle element that we are going to talk about is that when you have a tea, obviously you are going to taste it, because that is what is the sole purpose of making a tea. And that particular tanmatra or that particular property in Sankhya philosophy is called as a taste or a rasa. You have just a sip of a tea, and then you say whether it is sweet or less sweet, or you need more sugar, or it's a bit strong, or it's absolutely I mean, you need a much stronger tea, or you prefer much stronger tea. So here we need to correlate with our own observation of real life, that whenever our mouth is absolutely dry, maybe because of some disease, some ailment, some problem that we have, we are not able to taste it, and primarily unless until you have a saliva which is fluid, which maybe we can attribute as a jala tattva, whatever we discussed earlier. Without that, we are not able to understand what exactly is the taste. And that's the reason this specific property of rasa, or this specific property of taste, is attributed to the second Mahabhuta, which we call it as a jala or water. The third one that you would like to look at of the cup of tea that you have is the color. Yeah, from the color itself, you will be able to judge. Probably somebody, if he has put a very less quantity of milk and you don't prefer that kind of a stronger tea, you get darker brownish shade in your cup, and then you say, I think it's too strong. So if you don't mind, can you put some amount of milk in it? So the change of color that you understand, and that you correlate with the quality of tea that you prefer. And this particular tanmatra, or this particular subtle element in philosophy, in Sankhya philosophy, is given an attribute of a rupa or form. Correct? So this rupa or form comes from the Agni, the third Mahabhuta that we talked about, Agni or Tej or fire. Correct? It has a specific shape for it, and that's the reason why this form or rupa is attributed to the third Mahabhuta, that we call it as a Tej or fire. The moment somebody gives you a hot cup of tea, just by touching the external surface of the cup or that mug itself, you can understand whether it is really hot as you prefer, or it's absolutely cold. Right? And then probably you have your own observations, and so here how you judge the quality of tea that is being served to you is by sense of touch, touching the exterior part of the mug or the cup that you have. And this particular property, you can call it as a sparsha or touch, and that again is attributed to vayu or air. Probably those of you who are doing maybe pranayam and doing pranadharana, they are aware about it. We make use of this particular property of air for focusing our mind. And when we say that whenever you are breathing in, you take your mind to the sense of touch, that whenever you are breathing air, it has a touch at the tip of your nostrils. You concentrate on that particular touch, and that we use in our yoga abhyas also. And that is again attributed to vayu or air. And the last one that the tanmatra that the Sankhya philosophy talks about is shabda or sound. Now, when somebody is making a tea and the host is busy in talking to you or talking on a phone, and the proper attention is not being paid to the tea which is boiling on a gas, correct? Then you get a typical sound, correct? The tea which is almost about to overflow. It gives you a typical kind of a sound, and that you listen, and suddenly you decide that I have to rush to the kitchen and switch off the gas, or you have to take some corrective measure for it. So this last property of a sound or shabda is attributed to akash or space. And for practical example, you just try and see whatever noise that you get, whenever you have a milk which is boiling on your stove. Unless until there is some space, there is some empty space on the top of that container, you will not get that overflowing sound. Right? If it is totally full, it will just overflow without creating any sound. So for sound, it is absolutely necessary that you must have some empty space, correct, in your vessel itself. So we went a step further from 5 Mahabhutas. We went to 5 subtle elements or 5 tanmatras, correct? And correlation between them, like say, we talked about smell or gandha as a tanmatra, which is typical tanmatra of a Prithvi or Earth. We talked about rasa or taste as a typical tanmatra of jala or water. We talked about rupa or form, third tanmatra, as a tanmatra which is associated with tej or fire. And we talked about sparsha or touch, which again is a tanmatra of vayu or air. And the last tanmatra, that is shabda or sound, that is attributed to akash or space. So in just discussion about the tea and that is being served to you and your expectations and your qualities and all these things, out of 25 elements which are proposed in Sankhya, we have covered almost 10 of them, 5 Mahabhutas and 5 Tanmatras. Now let us go a step further and try and understand, what is it that we are, how exactly we are getting a knowledge of these 5 Tanmatras which we have. Maybe in philosophical terms, we call them as the Jnanendriyas, correct? Indriya or part of this thing, which gives us a jnana of what? So we talked about 5 tanmatras, and if you just start observing or just correlate your own this thing daily life experiences, you will observe that for every tanmatra that we talked about, a smell, taste, form, touch, or a sound, you have dedicated 5 jnanendriyas which have been given to you, which again are prescribed in Sankhya philosophy. And let us see what are those which are described. So when you talk of gandha or smell, right, that is called as a ghanendriya, the nose. Of course, I will spend some time in understanding, what exactly is the difference between jnanendriya and organ or avayava. When we are talking about jnanendriya, we are talking about the entire complex system which is there within your own complex system, which collects some of the molecules at the olfactory nerves. Then it is that information is transferred to the center which is located in your brain. Then it compares, whatever was earlier your experiences, and then you have given certain nomenclature to it. So when you get a certain type of a smell, then this whole entire complex process goes on. That complex process is called as a jnanendriya. It is not only nose. Many times, when we start learning, especially Indian philosophical systems from the English commentaries, there may not be appropriate words, and every language and every this thing has its own some peculiarities and has its own limitations. So when we talk about jnanendriya, the jnanendriya is not just an organ, correct? It is not just avayava, correct? It is not just a part of the body, but it is the entire, internal, circuit which helps you in identifying how exactly is the smell. So from smell or gandha, or the jnanendriya that we get is a ghrana. Or if at all we have to understand, we should not talk about only nose, but we should talk about the ability to smell. Correct? It is very important for us to understand this, because the moment we talk about only the avayava or as a nose, when we study from so many commentaries in English, that creates some kind of a problem. And just to give you a real life, problem that you and I might have faced, that most of us, we have studied in our mother tongue. Maybe, my mother tongue is Marathi, and that may be for many of you. Now, let us talk about real life, experience of a rain. Now, when we were kids and when we were going to school and we were studying in Marathi, right, the poem which was taught to us for rain was that Yere Yere Pausa, rain, rain, please come. We used to welcome the rain. Now, maybe your grandparents who are going to the English medium schools, correct? Now, the rain is same, correct? Your house is same, but the poems have changed, and it says, rain, rain, go away. Correct? So this what is the difference whenever you talk about the languages, because they have their own geographical references. And depending on that, the whole of the meaning or whole of the meaning that is to be conveyed changes. So my request to you is that whenever we are talking about five Jnanendriyas, you always try and understand, or whenever you are communicating, try and communicate. It is an ability to smell. It is not just a smell itself. Because when you talk of only smell, then you attribute it to the nose, and then that kind of a confusion hinders our further studies as far as Sankhya philosophy is concerned. So we talked about the five tanmatras. One was gandha and smell, and that is a ghanendriya or ability to smell. The second one was rasa or taste. The jnanendriya was rasana, or the ability to taste, not just a taste. Because here again, if you see the commentaries in English, it will talk about the tongue. Tongue is not the jnanendriya which is expected as far as this philosophical system is concerned. It is an entire complex thing which goes on. That means our taste buds, they catch certain chemicals, and then they transfer it, through the signals to the brain. It is then interpreted, and then finally you decide that whether that particular thing is sweet or bitter or whatever it may be. So that entire process comes as a part of Jnanendriya, not just the tongue itself. The third one that we talked about, third tanmatra of flame or tej or fire, we talked about roop or form. And obviously, we see it with the eyes. But we have to be very, very clear in understanding that it is an ability to see, not just the eyes itself. Okay? And the proper word which is used in Sankhya Karikas is chakshu. The fourth one that we talked about, sparsha or touch, is referred to as a twak or a twacha or a skin. Correct? But we have to understand it as the ability to understand the sense of touch, and not just the touch itself. Correct? Not just the skin, but the entire complex system which is there, which understands or which gives us idea about whether the cup of tea is hot or whether the cup of tea is cold or not so hot or whatever it may be. And the last one that we talked about, shabda or sound, we talk about ears. But here again, we have to understand ability to understand, ability to catch those sound waves, then transfer them, magnify them, whatever is the process which is going on within. And it's an ability to hear. So it is called as a shrotra. So what we did was that we tried to correlate each and every tanmatra or each and every subtle element that we talked about, shabda, gandha, rasa, rupa, sparsha and shabda, to one specific jnanendriya. That gandha we attributed to ghanendriya, rasa we attributed to rasanendriya, correct, or the ability to taste. Rupa we attributed to the chakshu or the ability to see. Sparsha which we attributed to twak, which is the ability to touch or understand the touch. And the shabda we attributed to the shrotra or the ability to hear. It's really interesting to understand how probably we have been using all these jnanendriyas all throughout our life, but probably this thought never came to our mind that they are so obedient servant of the nature that they do not cross each other's territory of operations. That each and every jnanendriya is attributed to a specific tanmatra. Like if at all you see the ability to smell, correct? So ability to smell or ghanendriya will work only for understanding what kind of a smell is there for that particular object, or what kind of a smell is there for a tea. But it will never talk about the temperature. It will never talk about whether it is a strong or a feed or anything of that sort. So it's a very, very specific job that has been assigned to each and every jnanendriya. And the specific job is attributed to one particular tanmatra. And in the process, we have landed up with 5 more jnanendriyas or 5 more evolutes which are described in Sankhya philosophy. So right now we are at a stage where we have covered 5 Panchamahabhutas. It is Prithvi, Aap, Tej, Vayu, Akash. We have understood about the 5 subtle elements which are specific attributed to these 5 Mahabhutas, which is Gandha, Rasa, Rupa, Sparsha and Shabda. And again we have correlated with them 5 Jnanendriyas, that is Ghanendriya, Rasanandriya, Chakshu, Tvak and Shrotra. So in the process we have completed 15 of the 25 elements which are prescribed in Sankhya. It becomes very easy for us to remember also, because that again is correlated with making and tasting a cup of tea, and what is it that we use all throughout our day-to-day life. So we have covered the 15 of the elements, and now let us go further and try and understand what is it that we do further. So just by getting the knowledge of all these things, it's not enough, but ultimately that information needs to be processed, as you have maybe a CPU in your computer. Yeah. So all the things that have been, all information which has come, it needs to be processed and it needs to be filtered, and whatever is relevant, that only needs to be passed on further, and further we need to take some action. So that particular first filter which is there for all the inputs, or for all the sensory inputs that are coming to us, in Sankhya philosophy it is attributed to the mana or mind. It is this part of our entire system which receives all the signals from these sensory organs. It decides what is relevant and what is irrelevant. In the sense that suppose if you you are in a chilly weather, you are desperate to have a sip of a very hot tea. It gives you a tea. So what is it that you are seeing? Is your eyes are seeing the nice mug which was given to you. Your eyes are seeing whatever are the adjoining maybe trees and the road and the bench and the chair and whatnot. But the mind decides that this is not what is important for me at this moment. Correct? What is important for me is only that the tea which is I am desperately looking out for. So only relevant information to what is it that is important at that particular moment is passed on further, is processed further, and on the basis of that we finally decide what is the action to be taken. So this is the main bridge, we can say, between our Jnanendriyas and Karmendriyas. We also know that as a student of yoga, you are aware that whenever we take any action, whatever karma we are doing, it is not possible unless and until that karma is done at the thought process. Right? It is quite possible that sometimes we may think about it, but don't do or don't perform that action. But as Patanjali says that whatever karma, even if you are done in thought, you have to pay the price for it. So that is already created samskar in your chitta. And ultimately, you whenever it gets fruitified, you'll have to pay the price for it. You can't escape from it. Surprisingly, though Sankhya and Yoga are clubbed together, and the entire foundation of Patanjali Yoga Sutras is on maybe if I take liberty to say that it is on one single word, that is chitta, because the definition of yoga itself, Patanjali talks about yoga chitta vritti nirodha. Now, surprisingly, the word chitta is not at all appearing in Sankhya. That its functions are not appearing, but it is not appearing in Sankhya. So let us have absolutely clarity about it. That they are clubbed because the basic foundation of thinking, basic information which is given to you, basic philosophical theories or philosophical knowledge which is transmitted to these two philosophical systems is almost parallel, is almost same, and that is the reason why they are clubbed. So considering mind as one of the things, then of course the mind will pass on the necessary input, but what is it that is important ultimately? We are interested in taking some action for ourselves. So what is important is that we try and evaluate all that input which has been given by the mind as to how it is relevant to me. Correct. So in philosophical term, we call it ahankar. Again, in day-to-day life, we always have some kind of a negative connotation to this word ahankar. Correct? Because we always say that this particular person is highly egoistic, correct? Yeah. So he cannot mix up with the people. He tries to, show off his knowledge, tries to show off his position, tries to show off his, whatever, the way in which he is superior. Believe me, as far as the ahankar is concerned, it is a natural evolute that it is there. And you and I can't escape through that. When we talk of ahankar, whatever information has been passed on to us, finally, how exactly it is important for me, correct? Whether maybe that both of us or all of us, we are sitting there, and at least we may have some one or two of our friends who don't take a cup of tea at all, who don't drink tea, correct? So they have given up, or they have never tasted the tea in their lifetime. No, for them, whatever information has been collected by their Jnanendriyas, whatever information has been passed on about the shade, color, fragrance, and aroma, and all those things, for them it is irrelevant. So they say, okay, that is everything is all right for you all, but for me it is of no use, because I don't enjoy a cup of tea at all. I don't want it. Right? So here exactly, that another filter which is taking place is the ahankar. And then after understanding, to what extent or to what is the information which is important for me, then that filter information is subsequently passed on for taking a final decision. And that particular, entity or that particular element, we can call it as the intellect or a buddhi. Right? So first filter was mind, second filter was the ahankar, and finally, now the decision-making process will be taking place at buddhi. And that's the reason why buddhi is called as a nishchayatmaka buddhi. So, as per the natural law, correct, or as our entire system has been designed, the decisions have to be taken by a buddhi, correct, and not by ahankar. So if you observe carefully, our day-to-day behaviors, many times your buddhi is telling you that this is something that you should not do. But then ahankar supersedes, and that particular activity we call it as a mistake. Maybe you are aware of it, that the junk food is not good. Let us take a practical example. Junk food is not good, correct? And then there is an occasion where your option, either you have all the junk food which is available, or you have a very simple food that is available, just a sabji and roti and rice and a dal. All that information which has gone to buddhi says that no, you are not supposed to have that junk food. It is not good for your health. But at that particular juncture itself, this ahankar says, it's okay, yaar, I have been listening to you for all these years. Today is an occasion where I would like to take my own decision, and I would like to try it out, whatever is there. So here the entire decision-making process we have tried to interfere with. Instead of taking decision with the buddhi, we have taken a decision with the ahankar. And if you continue to have the same mistake again and again in your life, then we have to pay the price for it in long run. So after this, all the sensory inputs that has come, it has gone through all these filters of mana, ahankar, and buddhi. Now is the time that we will have to finally act. We'll have to finally act. And the action is possible with only certain, movement of your body, only with, some of the things that we call them as the karmendriyas. Now, karmendriyas, which are described in Sankhya philosophy, are I would prefer to quote the Sanskrit words which appear in the philosophy, and then I will try to share with you my observations as regards our sometimes our misunderstanding, and if possible, I will try to give maybe one or two examples also. So when we are talking about the 5 karmendriyas which come in Sankhya philosophy, they are like upastha, payu, pada, pani, and vak. So the 5 karmendriyas that we are talking about, upastha, payu, pada, pani, and vak. Now here, if at all we would like to understand their exact meaning, correct? Most of the times, when we study from the from the English commentaries, upastha is interpreted as the the sexual organs which are gifted by nature to us. But if you understand the real in-depth Sanskrit, the meaning of this Sanskrit word upastha, it talks about to give pleasure to others. To give pleasure to others. Now just imagine, if at all, the entire society understand the exact meaning or exact purpose for which the sexual organs are given to all the, all the human beings, and understood them rightly. It is not just for the activities, correct? But sexual activities, but it is for giving pleasure to others. There will be a tremendous transformation in our behavior, tremendous transformation in understanding what is right, what is good, and what is socially acceptable and what is socially not acceptable. The next one the next karmendriya that we talk about is a payu, or it is normally translated as excretory organs. Correct? So there is no confusion as far as this particular thing is concerned, because it is one and same, and it is understanding is absolutely right for any living species all throughout the world. The third one we talk about, pada, is normally we interpret as a legs. We interpret pada is paya, and in fact one of the meaning which is given in Sanskrit dictionary for word pada is a legs. So we are not wrong. But as far as Sankhya philosophy is concerned, it talks about the pada as a karmendriya for anything which is helpful for going, for moving, and it does not restrict the meaning of the pada as a karmendriya only to the legs. Now let us understand, why I am saying that it is not only legs. Because as you may be aware, the Sankhya philosophy is not only for the human beings. Right? The Sankhya philosophy is for each and every existence that is there, not only on the Mother Earth, but this entire universe. Right? Now, even if we are talking about on the Earth itself, and we are talking about other maybe other birds and animals or other living species. Probably you and I, we are using legs for the movement, but the birds are not always using legs. They have legs, they are using legs, but most of the time they are using their wings for the movement. So let us have a correct understanding of the word pada. That anything which allows you to make any kind of a movement, that is something which comes as a in this particular class as a pada karmendriya. The next one is pani, and most of the English commentaries talk about the hands, correct? Because with the hands only we hold everything, and the understanding of this Sanskrit term is to take or to hold. It is not necessary to hand, because again, when we are talking about only restricting our discussion only to the human beings, this particular thing may be correct, because we are holding most of the things with the hand. But now let us take another living species like a snake. As I said, this philosophy is not exclusively for the human being, but it is for each and every existence that we have in this universe. So when we accept that, when we are talking about it, correct? Understanding pani as a one of the karmendriya, and understanding its meaning only to the hand. Probably you may not be able to explain for other living species. Let us take an example of a snake. No, snake don't have the hands, correct? So whichever part of that particular body of the snake which is used for holding the prey, holding anything, correct? That will come under the karmendriya of a pani. So maybe snake, when it's catching a prey with its jaw, correct? So the jaw will come under the pani, and unless we understand this in a much wider perspective, correct, we are actually restricting the entire Sankhya philosophy only to the human beings, and it is not so limited. It is it is spread over for the entire existence in this universe. It is not just for the human beings. So Let us have a clear understanding about it. And then we talk of the last Karmendriya, we talk about the Vak, or something which, right now I am using is to speak. Right? But maybe, there are so many, spaces, living spaces. We do not communicate in the word. They create different kind of a sounds. Correct? Or may many a times, they just communicate you by their different bodily postures. Correct? So whatever is the part of the body, whatever is the activity which is used for communication in with the another species, correct? That will come under this particular karmendriya of Vak. So what we did was that at this particular stage where exactly we are, we covered 5 Mahabhutas, then 5 Tanmatras, then 5 Jnanendriyas. Then we covered 3 integral parts of our, maybe, if you are Vedantic scholars, you may be calling them as a part of Antakarna. So Mana, Buddhi, and Mana, Ahankar, and Buddhi. So 5 plus 5 plus 5, 15 plus 3, 18, and 5 Karmendriyas. So right now we are at, we have understood 23 elements just by, taking an example of a cup of tea. And that means, you have scored almost like, say, 92% in, if at all, these 25 elements contribute to 100% of the mark. So we are at a stage where we have understood 23 elements. And the last 2 which are very important and which are, absolutely the basic foundation of the Sankhya philosophy. They are like the Purusha and Prakriti. So what I was telling you earlier is that even in the Sankhya philosophy itself, and whenever we start our studies in a normal way, we start with Sankhya as a dualistic philosophical system. The 2 major elements or 2 primordial principles which are proposed in Sankhya are Purusha and Prakriti. So please remember that Purusha and Mula Prakriti, or Purusha and Prakriti, that is talked about as a primordial principles. They are something which are beyond our sensory perception. Correct? So we start from something which is absolutely unknown, something which we have to have an imagination, something which we need to understand only after certain amount of the abhyas. And then we finally go to the gross, which gross, that is the Panchamahabhuta, which in my opinion is not in harmony with the educational principle that we have learned. And that is from gross to subtle, from simple to complex. Like, whenever we start maybe understanding maybe an English language, the first thing that we talk about is just the alphabets, and that also taking example of the, we are not taught maybe, A as just as one of the alphabet, but that is correlated with certain fruit which you have enjoyed in our life, maybe as an apple. When we are taught M, it is called as a mango. Correct? So we try and correlate it with our day-to-day experiences, something that we have already experienced, which is something which is gross, which you and I have experienced, which you and I can easily correlate. And then from understanding those alphabet, then we go gradually to the words. From words, we gradually go to the formation of the sentences. From sentences, we go to the tense, like say maybe a past and a present and a future. And then that is how slowly and steadily we get a grip of the language. I have just made an attempt to, take you all in a reverse direction. We started with the gross, and then gradually we have gone to the subtlest element, which are like Purusha and Prakriti. Again, here, let us have a very clear understanding that Purusha and Prakriti, because again, we have that misunderstanding about, this evolution of the entire world through Adam and Eve. And it's very logical and it's very, simple to understand that what you need for any kind of a evolution or procrastination is the feminine and masculine principle. But be very clear about it when we are talking about the Purusha and Prakriti as far as the Sankhya philosophy is concerned. There is no gender attached to it. Correct? There is no gender attached to it. Purusha is a principle, or Purusha in simple word, you may call it as a consciousness. And Prakriti is the principle of the materialistic world. So whatever you see all around, or maybe what is the difference between anybody who is a living organism and anybody who is a dead same species. The difference is only in the Purusha, correct? Only in terms of the consciousness. And Prakriti, or all the things that we see around are the same. So in short, everything that you see around in this entire universe, I am not restricting it only to the earth. I am talking about the entire universe, and that is what is proposed by sage Kapila Muni. That whatever existence you see anywhere, correct, you will be able to classify in these 25 elements. And the whole thing will start with only 2 elements, which is Purusha and Prakriti. So we have slowly and steadily, we have just tried to understand the 25 elements which are proposed in Sankhya. Now, other part which I feel, or I just wanted to cover, was that most of you or most of us are like yoga sadhakas, correct? So what is it that, how exactly is the relevance of understanding Sankhya as far as our understanding or our progress to the abhyasa of yoga is concerned? So first, I would like to clarify, and even in today's, today's subject also, the word darshana appears, correct? So all these 6 astika and 3 nastika darshana that we have, they form a foundation of our entire philosophical system. And the word darshana is highly, it communicates that is a particular viewpoint of particular, Rishi or a sage, correct? It's highly, democratic system of explaining what is it that I have seen, what is it that I have experienced, maybe experienced in terms of, my deep meditation, in the sense the Rishis. And whenever we are studying these darshanas and entire philosophical system, correct? These are the different perspectives of the great sages, correct? Nobody is, anyway, having a less knowledge or anything like that. Each and every sage who has proposed these darshanas are equally knowledgeable, equally experienced, and all of them, they deserve great admiration from all of us. They have expressed, how exactly is their understanding about the essence of the reality. What is it that final, ultimate tattva from which the entire thing is evolved? Some of them, they saw only one tattva, some of them they saw tattva. 2 tattvas. So maybe there are few who talk about Advaitas like Shankaracharya or Vedanta, and there are few who talk about the Dvaita like Sankhya, who talks about 2 principles, 2 primordial principles like Purusha and Prakriti. And maybe, when we talk about Advaita, then it will talk about only one tattva, which is Brahman. Yeah. So when we are studying darshanas, I would like to, as a student, as a friend, I would like to request you that please do not stamp one particular darshan as a right or wrong. Don't try to compare what is there in Sankhya about the evolution of the world and what is there in Vedanta as far as the evolution of world is concerned. Please try and have the independent studies. Don't try to compare and overlap whatever knowledge has been given in 2 different things. You can take liberty to agree on certain points or disagree on certain points. That liberty is given to you. But I don't think that, we have a liberty to stamp something as a right or stamp something as a wrong. Because with this open mind only, you will be able to understand each and every, darshana, which gives us a lot of knowledge. Now, coming back to specific Sankhya and Yoga that, we are talking about, they are paired together in the sense that, as I talked about, Sankhya and Yoga are paired together, Nyaya and Vaisheshika are paired together, Mimamsa and Vedanta are paired together. And Charvaka, Jain and Buddha, they are paired together as a Nastika Darshana. So why these pairing has occurred? Why these groups are formed? Because the basic understanding about these systems which are there, there are lots of similarity in that. That doesn't mean that there are no similarities from darshanas from other groups, but there is a lot of similarity, and that's the reason why Yoga and Sankhya are paired together. And in my opinion, it is absolutely necessary for every student of yoga to study the Sankhya philosophy. I will just try and share what are my thoughts about it. So first of all, Sankhya is very, very specific. It is highly scientific and very, very specific. Quantitative. It describes each and every element that forms this entire universe. It quantifies by numbers. It is not just a vague thing, correct? But quantifies by number, that there are 2 primordial principles, correct? There are 5 Mahabhutas, there are 5 karmendriyas, and each and every is numbered, correct? In fact, that is one of the interpretation of the word Sankhya itself. It explains its functions. It doesn't just quantify its numbers, but it explains in detail what is its function and explains the interrelationship of all the elements which we are talking about. That 25 elements which are proposed in Sankhya, how exactly they are interrelated, how exactly they come together for a particular function to occur. Thus, in my opinion, if you permit me to express my observation, the Sankhya draws a map of every existence, including human existence. And in that context, I think that Sankhya is absolutely important. And those of you who have studied the periodic table as far as the chemistry is concerned, correct? Like in periodic table, we have some 118 elements which are grouped in different maybe 6 groups of elements, and depending on their properties or similarities in their properties. Here also, correct? Because there the division in chemical, periodic table is on the basis of the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons that every element have. Sankhya has tried to group all the elements on the basis of again three variables, or which we call them as the 3 gunas: Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. There is a lot of similarity in whatever modern science that we talk about. Then as far as yoga is concerned, yoga takes that theoretical map. The Sankhya gives you a theoretical map of the entire existence which is there in the universe. Yoga takes that theoretical map of existence into realm of self-experience. So you have already learned what exactly is the theory about your existence, and now let us progress further in understanding what is the final aim of your life. And yoga takes us through the self experiences, and that is why it is always said that the theoretical foundation of the yoga is in Sankhya. Unless until you understand Sankhya, you probably may not be able to appreciate what exactly is the meaning in depth appearing in each and every Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Of course, even if you don't want to go into that deep, and even if you would like to be a very commoner, correct, as a grahasti personality, Sankhya is still relevant to you, because Sankhya starts with the basic, inquisitiveness about eradication of pain and misery from the life, correct? And which definitely, without an exception, each and every individual that we see, we are definitely interested in ensuring that we would like to live happily. We don't want pain again in our life. And in that context, if at all you would like to understand Sankhya, that also has some relevance even for each and every, sadhaka. So my experience is that, understanding Sankhya takes yoga practitioner to the higher level of awareness. And especially, I would say that whenever we are talking about all of us as a student of yoga, we talk about, Ashtanga yoga, wherein, we have some asana, pranayam, and then pratyahara as a bridge, and dharana, dhyan, samadhi as a antaranga yoga. So whenever you would like to take a leap, or whenever you would like to go to that particular bridge of pratyahara, understanding Sankhya philosophy will make that particular path much easier for you. And in that context, I feel that understanding Sankhya is very important. I particularly observed that it was transformative, and probably that helps you. I'm saying that helps you to solve so many mysteries in your life. Once you understand the dynamic role of the trigunas that is going on in our existence, and moment to moment it is shifting. Probably you can correlate with your own behavior, you can correlate with your proper understanding, and that is highly transformative. So I feel that Sankhya provides a tool to make sense of the material world that we see around, our perception, our interaction with the world, and helps for a rational explanation of the experiences in our life. So in that context, I feel that Sankhya is absolutely necessary for every sadhaka. And just to give you an example, I have just selected few of the sutras from Patanjali Yoga Sutra. The first sutra itself talks about Atha Yoga Anushasana. Now the word Atha, which appears as the first word in Patanjali Yoga Sutra itself, correct? No doubt it is an auspicious word, and there are many Sanskrit scriptures we start with this word Atha. But if you have gone a step further and you have studied the Vyasa Bhashya by Vyasa Muni, correct? He has indicated different meaning to this first word Atha, and he interprets it as an Adhikara Vachak. That means it is quite likely. It is so that as we have completed the understanding of the Sankhya philosophy, now let us go further and try and understand or try discuss about the yoga. Like say, as an example that I gave about understanding the language. Maybe our teacher in the first standard, he or she might have taught us about the alphabets. When we went to second, she said, now you are quite acquainted with the alphabets. Now let us understand what are the words. Maybe later on, they said that now you understood the alphabets and the words. Now let us go and further understand how exactly the languages are formed. So many scholars feel that this word Atha indicates that now since you have completed the understanding about the Sankhya philosophy, now let us go and understand about the yoga. When we are talking about the two principles, that is Purusha and Prakriti, here again, we'd like to have one more, simple or maybe a major difference between the theories that put forward about the creation or, how exactly this world came into existence. So there are a few who say that the world is created. So it is the terminology that will be used, or it will be created or it will be destructed. Maybe, some of us can believe that the God created it. Maybe, somebody will feel that the Jesus created this particular world for the human being, correct? And there are few who say that, there is no necessity that somebody else has to create it. And we do not approve that a single entity can be so powerful that it can create the entire, the variety of existences which are there in this universe. So the theory which is proposed is a causative theory or evolution and dissolution. So whenever you talk about the words like creation and destruction, we are talking about a God as a creator. God in any form as a creator. And whenever we talk about the evolution and dissolution, we are talking about the theories like Sankhya. And one of the theory which is, or one of part of that theory is a Satkaryavad, which talks about nothing is created, nothing is destroyed, and every effect has a specific cause. And a normal example which they have given is that if at all I want to, make a curd, right? Then I cannot make a curd out of a milk, out of a water. Water is also fluid, milk is also fluid, milk also contains a lot of water, but I cannot make curd because the effect of curd is already there in a dormant form as far as the milk is concerned, and that is what is the cause and effect analysis. And even a normal thing also, if at all you would like to have a maybe a plant of or you would like to have a mango tree, you will need to plant the seed of a mango. No, you can't plant banana and expect that it will grow into the mango tree, or you can't plant coconut and do it. So even for our general observation, it is the same. Whatever we talked about, nothing can be created and nothing can be destroyed. A philosophical basic concept which is given in Sankhya. Those of you who are hardcore, science students, probably the physics also talks the same thing about energy and mass. Correct? The correlationship with the Einstein's formula E is equal to mc square. It talks about the same thing. Either energy can be transformed to the mass or mass can be transformed to the energy. But there is no separate, there is no additional energy which is created in this universe. Neither a mass is created. There is an energy, a mass which is there. And we only are, what we are talking about is the interconversion of that particular thing. So it's really interesting to understand that whatever the modern physics is talking about, the correlationship or transformation between energy and mass is also hinted as far as the Indian philosophical system is concerned. The two main principles that we talk about, Purusha and Prakriti, correct? So Purusha I said, it is not masculine, but it is a spiritualistic principle. It is a self, it is spirit, it is consciousness. You can give, or it is Atman. The name may appear different, but in short, it is something which never changes. Correct? That is what, in a nutshell, I can tell you. And when we talk about Prakriti, it is not feminine, but it is a materialistic principle. When we talk of materialistic, it is essentially changing. It is changing. Correct? Now, these particular two terms, Purusha and Prakriti, correct? They appear time and again as far as the Yoga Sutras are concerned. And that's the reason why I say that they are very closely associated with each other. So just to give you an example, if you talk about the 16th Sutra in the first chapter itself, it talks about Tatparam Purusha Khyate Guna Vaitrushnyam. Now, the word Purusha, whatever is meant in Sankhya, exactly verbatim, the same meaning is there as far as the Patanjali Yoga Sutra is concerned. Even when we are talking about the concept of Ishvara in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, correct? There again the term Purusha appears, and it says that Klesha Karma Vipaka Ashahi Aparamrushtaha Purusha Vishesha Ishvara. Now here again I would like to clarify that as far as Sankhya philosophy is concerned, Sage Kapila did not felt it necessary to accept the existence of some entity as a Ishvara, correct? Whereas as far as Patanjali is concerned, he accepted the entity as a Ishvara, and then he defined it as a special kind of a Purusha itself, correct? And so many times, correct, the Patanjali Yoga Sutras or the yoga philosophy itself is called as a Seshwara Sankhya. Seshwara means something, a Sankhya philosophy's concepts taken together, but with addition of the existence of Ishvara. As far as Prakriti is concerned, again, it appears in Patanjali Yoga Sutras, maybe again to give you example of 19th Sutra in chapter 1 itself, that Bhava Pratyo Videha Prakriti Layanam. Now, if you are not understood, what is this Prakriti itself, what is the meaning of Prakriti itself, correct? Probably we'll understand, we'll by heart, we'll recite the Sutra, we'll understand the meaning of it, but then it will not have the practical relevance of implementing it in our own, the yoga sadhana. And the second one that I would like to see, because that is where the Prakriti word does not appear, but it is hinted, correct? The 45th Sutra of the same first chapter itself, the Sukshma Vishayatvam cha Alinga Parivasanam. Now the word Sukshma, correct, itself is an indicative what I talked about, that the Purusha and Prakriti are so subtle that they are beyond our sensory perception, they are beyond our this thing. And this again, this Sukshmata, whatever Patanjali talks about the Prakriti, is indicated in Sankhya Karika also. The 7th Karika of Sankhya says that the Prakriti, though I cannot show you, I cannot give you a proof, correct? But it exists. So the Karika says, Saukshmya tad anupalabdhi na abhavat. Not that Prakriti is not there. It is so subtle that you and I will not be able to feel it, will not be able to have kind of a direct perception to it. And that's the reason why we say that it is not necessary that we have to have everything as per Pratyaksha Praman only. Something we will have to have a belief, we will have to Shabda Praman also, something we will have to implement. And that is what it comes in the Sankhya Karika, which is there. Saukshmat tad anupalabdhi na abhavat karya tad apalubde. When you are talking Satkaryavat or the cause and effect analysis, he says Prakriti is so subtle that you will never be able to see it, you will never be able to experience it. But then how you can conclude? You can conclude it from various effects that you see, correct? And that is how, unless until you understand what exactly are these concepts of Purusha and Prakriti, we will not be able to understand the real meaning of the Yoga Sutra that we are talking about. The next point or the last point that I would like to stress is that the Sankhya also talks about, the ultimate, what is the aim of, the elimination of dukkha. Dukkhatraya abhigata jijnasa tad apaghatake hetu. Ultimately, we would like to eradicate pain and agony from our life. So how exactly you do? So Sankhya talks about the discriminative knowledge between Purusha and Prakriti. Correct? The same thing is talked about in Patanjali Yoga Sutra, and it is described as a Viveka Khyati. Viveka Khyati is not just having a knowledge about these two things. Then it is not just knowledge about Purusha and Prakriti, Viveka is a discriminated knowledge. How exactly you differentiate between Purusha and Prakriti. And then again, gradually when we come back to the starting verses of the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, that unless and until you have the discriminated knowledge, which is proposed, which is profoundly, advocated in Sankhya, what exactly you get, or where exactly this Vivek hath established is that Ashtanga Yoga, which you and I are very closely following. So in second chapter, the 20th aphorism, it talks about Yoganga Anushtanat Ashuddhikshe Jnanadapti Viveka Khyate. This Viveka Khyate is exactly whatever is the discriminative knowledge which is proposed in the Sankhya philosophy. Now, when it is there and when it is not there, let us understand, what is it, and whether that kind of a references appear in the Patanjali Yoga Sutras also. So whenever we cannot differentiate between these two primordial principles, Purusha and Prakriti, principle of consciousness and the materialistic principle, correct? Yeah, it is indicated in Patanjali Yoga Sutras third aphorism itself that Tada Drashtu Swarupe Avasthanam. Whenever you understand the difference between these two, then you understand what exactly is the basic nature. What exactly, your basic nature is the pure consciousness. It is not just the body that we normally be attached to. And when we don't understand it, correct? The next aphorism, the fourth aphorism in first pada itself, it talks about that when it is lacking, when Vivek is lacking, Vritti Sarupyam Itaritra. That means you are just identifying yourself with all the elements. We are identifying ourselves with the body, with the mind, and all those things which are continuously changing. Correct? And this is like, in a simple word, it is like the actor playing a role in a drama. So maybe he is acting as a king, but he knows that I am a king only when I am on that stage for 3 hours. Correct? Once I am I get down from the stage, I am like a normal person. Correct? So I can't boost to be a king whenever I am traveling also. Correct? So if at all we do not have that proper understanding of our proper nature, it is quite likely that we'll end up with lots of problems in our day-to-day life. And once we have understanding about our true nature and the nature that we have misunderstood about ourselves clearly, then probably we can, eradicate pain and agony from our life. So this is what I just wanted to, share with you. So in short, we started with the formula of a tea, and from the ingredients of the tea, we develop, 5 Mahabhutas. Then we try to develop what are the 5 Tanmatras. We try to understand, 5 Tanmatras specifically associated with 5 Jnanendriyas. Then we understood what exactly is the role which is played by, 3 major parts which are described in Antakarana, that is Mana, Ahankar and Buddhi. And once Buddhi takes a decision, finally we are there to do some kind of action. The Karmendriyas and the 2 primordial principles which are like a Purusha and Prakriti. In second part, I have tried to just, hurriedly, I have tried to, impress you as a, honorable yoga sadhaka. What is the necessity of having at least some understanding, some knowledge about Sankhya? Because I can assure you that your depth of the sadhana will definitely go to the newer height. So with that, I will stop, because we will have some maybe 4 or 5 minutes to ask the questions. And then I'm again, I'm thankful to Indian Yoga Association Maharashtra chapter for giving me an opportunity to interact with you and put forward my thoughts. It is not necessary that you have to accept them, because our darshana itself are highly they give you liberty to accept totally, accept partly, or reject totally also, or reject partly. So I'll be very happy if at all as a good friend you criticize what you don't like, because that will help me in improving further maybe in future whenever I'm talking on the same subject. So thanks a lot, Maskar sir, Pathak sir, and all my friends who have attended the lecture. So thank you so much. Yeah.
धन्यवाद. थँक्यू व्हेरी मच. काही प्रश्न आहेत. एक इथं चॅट बॉक्स मध्ये मला दिसतोय.
ओके.
महाराष्ट्रातील अनेक संत मंडळी अद्वैत वेदांताचा पुरस्कार करतात. सांख्य दर्शन श्रेष्ठ की वेदांत दर्शन श्रेष्ठ, असा प्रश्न आहे.
पहिल्यांदा सांगितलं की ज्या वेळेला प्रश्न मराठीमध्ये आहे,
हो
मराठीतच उत्तर देऊ का?
चालेल चालेल.
मी पहिल्यांदाच सांगितलं की जेव्हा जेव्हा तुम्ही दर्शनाचा अभ्यास करता ना, तर तेव्हा तेव्हा यू आर नॉट सिटिंग देअर एज अ जज. हे दर्शन बरोबर आहे का ते दर्शन बरोबर आहे. हे ज्या ज्या लोकांनी दर्शनं मांडलेली आहेत ना, वेदर इट इज द्वैत और अद्वैत, ते आपल्यापेक्षा हजारो पटीने इंटेलिजंट, हजारो पटीने ज्ञानी माणसं होती. तर त्यांनी त्यांचे व्ह्यू पॉइंट, त्यांनी कशा दृष्टीने त्यांच्या स्वतःच्या अवस्थेमध्ये स्वतः जे काय त्यांनी मेडिटेशन केलं त्याच्यामध्ये त्यांना ज्याच्यात जे काय फायनल ज्याचं दर्शन झालं ते त्यांनी मांडण्याकरता ही पर्टिक्युलर दर्शनाची मांडणी केलेली आहे. तर निदान मी तरी सांगायला की बाबा द्वैत श्रेष्ठ कॉन्शियसनेस प्रिन्सिपल. मे बी Shankaracharya what says is that there is no necessity to have a materialistic principle, because the Advaita principle that I am talking about itself has certain power which he attributes as a Maya to manifest into something which is ever changing. Correct? So again, if you apply our mind and try and go to it, ultimately everybody will talk about one particular, final element only. Correct? Only Sankhya feel that they need to be separated because they are totally, there is no similarity in it. Shankaracharya feels no, it is not so. It is not. In fact, Shankaracharya has very, very strongly criticized Sankhya, not the Sankhya philosophy, but because of his strong faith in Dvaita. So Shankaracharya was interested in refuting Dvaita and established Advaita. So he has criticized Sankhya philosophy. I am not so qualified, so I cannot say that Sankhya is wrong and Shankaracharya is right. I leave it to you. You can understand it, and you probably, if you do the deep study of everything, you will arrive at only one conclusion of the existence of this universe. Yeah, anything else that?
One more question is in English.
Sorry?
Chat मध्ये दिसतोय का तुम्हाला? नाही तर मी सांगतो. How can we see or follow the Sankhya Darshana with context to modern age?
How we can see in the sense, मी जसं तुम्हाला सांगितलं ना की basically each and everything that is happening is because of the permutation and combination of gunas. Except consciousness, a principle which is never changing, whatever you have, including your mind, including your Patanjali Chitta, including your physical body, including your mind, buddhi, mana, buddhi, ahankar, everything is the evolute of three gunas. So whatever is the dynamic combination of three gunas, correct, that decides. And again, I would like to clarify one point, especially because you all are very learned and high level yoga sadhakas, correct? Never have a aim of having only sattvic or maybe a sattva guna in your this thing, because that is not left to you. The nature knows that all the three gunas are necessary, correct? So there is a time period. What you can do is that you can have a maximum period for which sattva guna will be predominant. But let us say a sattva guna is for the knowledge. So you continue to have some kind of education, continue to have some knowledge, correct? Tell me frankly, honestly, and be brutally honest to yourself. Will not be a time when you will get fed up with the knowledge, and even if your mind says that I would like to learn something, correct? Your body says no, it's enough is enough here. I would like to go to bed. So at that time, the sattva guna has been so much so, acted and predominated your, that particular time period, that tamoguna says, now you have praised me too much here. Now I cannot accept it. Tamoguna will start taking over the sattva guna, correct? With the help of rajoguna, correct? So finally you will go to sleep. So please remember, all the three gunas are going to exist together. There is no facility, no liberty given to you of eradication of any kind of a guna itself. Coming back to that question, how I can understand that whenever I am doing certain things, and if at all I feel that, my particular action was not correct, maybe, you can correlate with the predominance of the guna, correct? Maybe, at that particular time, I was not having a clarity in my mind. When they say that you must clear, or the example that I gave you is that attribute of taking decision is given to your buddhi and not to your ahankar, correct? So let buddhi decide what is good for you and not ahankar. When you feel that this is good, correct, let buddhi decide whether it is good or bad for you and not the ahankar. So then you will be able to, implement the philosophy of Sankhya in your day-to-day life.
Thank you. पुढला एक प्रश्न आहे, ऋषी आणि मुनीमध्ये फरक काय? व्हॉट इज द डिफरन्स बिटवीन ऋषी अँड मुनी?
I am not so qualified to talk about it. Correct. And normally, to be very honest with you, I don't go into all these, the circus of the words. What is it? So I am not here. I am not a philosopher. I don't want to know about it also. I want to know what is practical relevance as far as the Sankhya is concerned. And I would like to definitely, apply whatever my basic scientific knowledge is there, correct, to the points which have been raised by it. Just like, I correlated your the relationship between energy and mass with nothing can be created and nothing can be destroyed, as the Satkarya was of Sankhya, correct. So likewise, I am more interested in doing that kind of a study and not just Shabdachala. Correct. So I am not qualified to talk about these kind of things. And I am not
शब्दच्छल तो
interested.
नाही, मला अजून नक्की आठवत नाही, मला असं ऐकल्यासारखं वाटतं की एक जे आहे ते फक्त स्वतःची साधना करतात आणि स्वतःच फक्त हे करून घेतात आणि दुसरे जे आहेत ते समाजाला उपयोगी पडतात. आता नक्की काय फरक आहे ते मला आठवत नाही, पण असं काहीतरी फरक आहे दोघांमध्ये.
बरोबर.
मस्करजी, तुम्ही काय उजेड टाकू शकता का?
काय होईल माहितीये का, जो स्वतःची साधना करत असेल आणि गेट समथिंग फॅन्टॅस्टिक नॉलेज, बट ही नेव्हर शेअर इट, so his name and knowledge will vanish, no? There can be two. After years together, we are understanding Patanjali. If you are understanding,
सांगतात मौनात राहतात ते मुनी.
अच्छा.
आणि कर्मामध्ये असतात ते ऋषी.
अच्छा.
असं आपण करू शकतो त्याचा विचार. पण हे
आय एम इग्नोरंट इन दॅट पर्टिक्युलर एरिया.
हे दोन्ही कॅटेगरी एकच आहेत. त्यामुळे असे असले त्याच्यामध्ये काही फरक शोधण्यात अर्थ नाही. पाठकजी, नाऊ टेक ओव्हर.
ओके, तर प्रश्न उत्तर झालेले आहेत. जोशी सरांचं अभिनंदन, धन्यवाद. त्यांनी योगाच्या मार्गावरती चालण्यासाठी सांख्य दर्शन कसं उपयोगी होईल त्याच्याबद्दल सोप्या शब्दात समजावून सांगितलं आणि सगळ्यांनी हा चहा बनवून घेतला असेल अशी मी अपेक्षा करतो. एक गोष्ट सांगायची राहिली होती सुरुवातीच्या ह्याला, की आपली IYA दिल्लीला स्थापन झाल्यानंतर IYA महाराष्ट्र ब्रँचची 2021 मध्ये स्थापन झाली आणि त्याच्यानंतर आपण जास्तीत जास्त मेंबर्स करायचा प्रयत्न करतो आहोत. आणि मला सांगायला एक आनंद वाटतो की आपले बरेच मेंबर झाले. तसंच आपल्या ऍक्टिव्हिटीज पण आपण बऱ्यापैकी रेग्युलरली करतो आहोत. एक जे दर महिन्याला आपण वेबिनार करतो, फक्त गेल्या 2 महिन्यामध्ये काही अडचणी आल्या त्याच्यामुळे ते झाले नाही. तसंच दुसरं जे आपण योग सिंधू नावाचं बुलेटिन दर 3 महिन्याला काढतो, त्याच्यामध्ये लेखांची संख्या हळूहळू वाढू लागलेली आहे. परंतु मला पुन्हा एकदा सर्वांना अशी विनंती करायची आहे की ज्यांनी अजून मेंबरशिप घेतली नसेल त्यांनी मेंबरशिप घ्यावी. इन्स्टिट्यूशनच्या नावाची घेऊ शकता, इंडिव्हिज्युअल घेऊ शकता. आणि त्याच्यामध्ये अप्लाय करण्यासाठी आता मी चॅटबॉक्स वरती लिंक पाठवलेली आहे. त्या लिंक वरती तुम्ही क्लिक केल्यानंतर तिथे तुम्ही लिहू शकता की मला इंडिव्हिज्युअल मेंबरशिप पाहिजे का इन्स्टिट्यूटची मेंबरशिप पाहिजे. आणि त्याच्यामध्ये फक्त तुम्हाला एक शब्द लिहावा लागेल की फॉर महाराष्ट्र ब्रांच म्हणून. आणि त्याप्रमाणे तुम्ही जर मेंबरशिप घेतली तर ती आपल्याकडे त्याची नोंद होईल. आणि दुसरा फायदा असा की आम्ही आता सध्या आपलं 1 वर्ष झालं, आपण दर 8 महिन्याला एक वेबिनार करतो आहोत आणि जवळजवळ 2 महिने फक्त झाला नाही, म्हणजे जवळजवळ 80-90% आपण बऱ्यापैकी ते इम्प्लिमेंट करू शकलो आहोत. त्यानंतर योग सिंधू दर 3 महिन्याला आपण प्रकाशित करतोय. त्याचं पूर्ण श्रेय मस्करजींना आहेत, कारण ते पूर्ण त्याच्या पाठीमागे लागलेले असतात आणि ऑन टाइम बरोबर 15 तारखेला ते प्रकाशित करतात. तर त्या दोन्ही ऍक्टिव्हिटीज आपल्या चांगल्या प्रमाणे चालू आहेत. त्याच्यामध्ये अजून आपल्याला सुधार करायचा आहे. त्याच्यामध्ये एक सुधार असा आहे की आपल्या योग सिंधूला अजून काही लोकांनी आपले लेख लिहून द्यावेत. तर ते जे लोक मेंबर झाले असतील त्यांना लेख पाठवायची परवानगी आम्ही दिलेली आहे. त्याच्यामध्ये एक तर स्वतःचा लेख लिहू शकतात किंवा ज्यांची इन्स्टिट्यूट आहे ते आपल्या इन्स्टिट्यूटचा गेल्या 3 महिन्यामध्ये आपण काय काय चांगले कार्यक्रम केले त्याचा एक शॉर्ट मध्ये अहवाल, पुन्हा काही फोटो, हे पण आम्ही प्रकाशित करूया त्याच्यामध्ये. तेव्हा ते पण तुम्ही आम्हाला पाठवू शकता. त्याचप्रमाणे लेक्चर्स बद्दल पण मला 2-3 विनंती आली होती, तेव्हा त्यांना पण मी हेच सांगतोय की त्यांनी मेंबर व्हावं पहिले आणि त्याच्यानंतर आपला टॉपिक आम्हाला कळवावा. त्याच्यानंतर आम्ही त्याच्यावरती निर्णय घेऊन आपल्याला सांगू की आम्ही तुम्हाला त्याच्यामध्ये सहभागी करून घेऊ शकतो का नाही. तेव्हा पुन्हा एकदा सर्व सभासदांचं आजच्या
डॉक्टर साहेब
Yes, sir.
डॉक्टर साहेब
Yes, sir.
एक मला जस्ट 1 मिनिट द्या.
बरं.
एक बॉक्स मध्ये बघितलं की कोणीतरी लिहिलंय की सांख्य फिलॉसॉफी इज टू अटेन द समाधी. So application of these theories should not be applied to other creatures.
अच्छा.
Absolutely wrong understanding about it, because leave aside you and me, what is the next life that you and I are going to get? But even Bhagwan Buddha has passed through various phases, correct, in all the creatures. So don't be under the wrong impression that is only the human who has authority to uplift and go to the final stage. Every living creature has this thing, and so let us be very clear about it.
पाठक
एक प्रश्न आलेला आहे, आर्टिकल्स ऑन व्हॉट सब्जेक्ट. तर आपले हे सर्व आर्टिकल योगाशीच रिलेटेड असणार आहेत, बाकी दुसरे कुठलेही नाही. योगाच्या वरती जर आपण काही काम केलं असेल किंवा त्याच्याबद्दल काही विशेष प्रावीण्य त्याच्याबद्दल आपण त्याच्यात माहिती देऊ शकता. आणि दुसरं सांगितलं की आपल्या संस्थेबद्दल आपण एक अहवाल आम्हाला देऊ शकता, तो आम्ही दर 3 महिन्याच्या प्रकाशित करू. त्याचप्रमाणे येस सर बोला.
एकच फक्त मध्ये मुद्दा सांगतो तुम्हाला. आता बरीच मंडळी या फोरमवरती अवेलेबल आहेत आणि त्यातले काही लोक IYA मेंबर सुद्धा आहेत. फक्त मला एकच तुम्हाला सांगायचं आहे की IYA ची मेंबरशिप घेतली आणि IYA ने तुम्हाला मेंबरशिप सर्टिफिकेट दिलं, याचा अर्थ असा नाही की तुम्ही IYA चा बॅनर लावून आपले क्लासेस चालू करू शकता. याच्यामध्ये बऱ्याच काही गंभीर घटना घडलेल्या आहेत आणि त्याच्याबद्दलच्या काही क्वेरीज फॉर नो रिझन IYA ला फेस करायला लागतात. कसं आहे की YCB ही सर्टिफाईंग बॉडी आहे, योग सर्टिफिकेट बोर्ड, ते सर्टिफाय करतात. त्यांनी सर्टिफाय केलेला माणूस जेव्हा योग शिकवायला लागतो तेव्हा त्यांनी शिकवलेल्या गोष्टींची जबाबदारी YCB घेत नाही. कारण त्या माणसाने स्वतःची काही चालवून काही मध्ये गडबड केली ते इट बिकम्स अ प्रॉब्लेम फॉर द इन्स्टिट्यूशन. कारण IYA मेंबरशिप घेतली, लाईफ मेंबरशिप घेतली तरी सुद्धा तुम्ही क्वालिफाईड योग टीचर असाल तर त्या संस्थेला तुम्ही रिस्पॉन्सिबल आहात हे पहिलं लक्षात घ्यायचं. त्यामुळे अशा प्रकारे काही गोष्टी ज्या घडतायत की चुकीच्या पद्धतीने काही गोष्टी सांगितल्या जातात किंवा एक्झॉर्बिटंट चार्जेस लावले जातात आणि बॅनर लावला जातो की मी IYA चा मेंबर आहे. दॅट डज नॉट गिव्ह परमिट टू डू एनिथिंग अँड एव्हरीथिंग. त्यामुळे आपल्याला ही गोष्ट सर्व लोकांनी लक्षात ठेवणं आवश्यक आहे. कारण कसं असतं की 99% लोक चांगलंच काम करतात, तर एखादाच माणूस असा असतो की ज्याच्यामुळे काही वेळेला प्रॉब्लेम क्रिएट होऊ शकतात. सो हे फक्त फोरम आता अवेलेबल आहे, बऱ्यापैकी अटेंडन्स लोकांचा आहे आणि दिस इज गोईंग लाईव्ह स्ट्रीम. आणि म्हणून मला हे सांगावंसं वाटतं की IYA ची मेंबरशिप घेणं डज नॉट गिव्ह यू एनी अथॉरिटी और परमिशन और परमिट टू कंडक्ट व्हॉट एव्हर वे यू वॉन्ट टू कंडक्ट. तसं नाही करू शकत. मेंबरशिपचा बोर्ड लावून काही होत नाही बेसिकली. त्यामुळे कृपा करून स्वतःच्या जबाबदारीवरती आणि योगशास्त्राची प्रामाणिक राहून काही करण्याचा प्रयत्न करायचा असेल तरच IYAचं नाव लावा. आणि IYAचं नाव लावलं म्हणजे जबाबदारी आमची नाही हे पुन्हा एकदा सांगतोय, रिपीट वन्स अगेन. बाकी पुढच्या गोष्टी आता पाठवा. थँक्यू.
योगाच्या मार्गामध्ये आपण काम करणार आहोत, योगाचे धडे आपण लोकांना देणार आहोत, तेव्हा आपण पहिले एकदम क्लिअर पाहिजे. त्याच्यामध्ये आपण कुठल्याही गोष्टी अनएथिकल करता कामा नये. कारण त्याच्या असं जर केलं तर लोक म्हणतील अरे हे योग शिकवतात आणि असं चुकीच्या गोष्टी शिकवतात आपल्याला. तेव्हा हा पहिला धडा आपल्याला घेतला पाहिजे की आपण योग शिक्षक आहोत, आपण कुठली अनएथिकल गोष्ट करणार नाही. आणि जसं आता मस्कर सरांनी सांगितलं की तुम्ही IYA ची मेंबरशिप घेतली म्हणजे तुम्हाला काय पूर्ण कवच नाही दिलेलं. कारण तुम्ही काय शिकवता काय नाही शिकवता आम्हाला माहित नाहीये. त्याच्यामुळे तुम्ही जे काय शिकवणार काय जे करणार त्याला सर्वस्वी तुम्ही जबाबदार राहणार आहेत. त्याला IYA ला तुम्ही जबाबदार धरू शकत नाही. जसं एक साधारण उदाहरण देतो की आम्ही जे डॉक्टर आहे, मी सर्जन आहे, आम्हाला MMC ने रजिस्ट्रेशन दिलंय, दॅट मीन्स यू हॅव बीन परमिटेड टू प्रॅक्टिस सर्जरी. तसं IYAचं तुम्हाला रजिस्ट्रेशन मिळालं तर तुम्ही फक्त योग शिकवण्यासाठी योग संस्था चालवण्यासाठी त्याच्यासाठी परमिशन दिली. पण डॉक्टर जेव्हा आम्ही म्हणून प्रॅक्टिस करतो तेव्हा त्याच्यामध्ये जे काय प्रॉब्लेम येतात ते डॉक्टरच फेस करतो, MMC फेस करत नाही. त्याच्यामुळे हे प्रत्येकाची आपापली जबाबदारी आहे, समजून काम करावं. त्याच्यामध्ये कुठे असं हे IYA दिलंय म्हणून मी काही पण करेल तर एवढं फक्त कृपया लक्षात ठेवा. आपण योगाच्या मार्गामधले आहोत हे पहिलं बेसिक आपल्या डोक्यामध्ये असू द्या की आपण कुठलंही काम करतो तेव्हा ते काम केल्यामुळे योगाच्या ह्याला काही वाईट बदनाम होईल का हे आधी लक्षात घ्या, मग पुढे काम करा. मे बी इट कुठल्याही प्रकारचा असू द्या, फी लावण्याबद्दल असू द्या फी घेण्याबद्दल असू द्या, शिकवण्याच्या पद्धतीबद्दल असू द्या, किंवा दुसरे काही पण क्लासमध्ये तुमचं वर्तणूक असू द्या, त्या सगळ्या गोष्टी ह्या तुम्ही योग शिक्षक आहात हे आधी पहिले बेसिक लक्षात घ्या. कारण तुम्ही कुठलीही चुकीची गोष्ट केली, IYA आता जसं मस्कर सरांनी सांगितले की IYA त्याला जबाबदार नाही, परंतु युनिव्हर्समध्ये तुम्ही जर असं काम केलं तर ते समाजामध्ये योग बदनाम होईल. तेव्हा हे लक्षात घ्या, योग बदनाम झाला नाही पाहिजे. तेव्हा हे पदोपदी जेव्हा जेव्हा आपण काम करतो तेव्हा प्रत्येक वेळेस मी जी स्टेप घेतोय, हे पाऊल घेतोय, ह्याच्यामध्ये काही चूक आहे का, ह्याच्यामुळे योग बदनाम होईल का, ह्याचा विचार करा आणि पुढे काम करा. आणि असं जर केलं तर मला वाटतं असं कोणालाच काही प्रॉब्लेम येणार नाही आणि कुणी कोणावरती बोट उचलणार नाही. तेव्हा पुन्हा एकदा सर्वांना विनंती करतो की आपला मार्ग योग्य तर हे करा आणि योग लोकांपर्यंत अशा प्रकारे पोहोचा की त्यांना त्याचं महत्व कळलं पाहिजे, त्याचा आनंद मिळाला पाहिजे. त्याच्यामुळे कोणाच्या मनात किंतु परंतु निर्माण नाही झालं पाहिजे. अरे त्याने असं केलं, ते तसं केलं, हे बरोबर नाही, आणि मग ते डिस्कशन सुरू झालं की मग त्याच्यात प्रॉब्लेम सुरू होतात. तेव्हा कृपया सर्वांनी लक्षात घ्यावं. आणि मेंबरशिपसाठी सगळ्यांना आवाहन करतो, ज्यांना योग सिंधूमध्ये काही द्यायचंय, लेख द्यायचा आहे किंवा त्यांच्या संस्थेचा अहवाल द्यायचा आहे, तुम्ही आता योग सिंधू पाहत असाल, त्याच्यामध्ये बघत असाल की आम्ही कैवल्यधामचा मी अहवाल दिलेला आहे, मस्कर गुरुजींनी त्यांच्या घंटाळी मित्रमंडळचा दिला आहे, त्याच्यानंतर योगा इन्स्टिट्यूटचा त्यांनी दिलेला आहे. तर तसे अहवाल तुमचे आम्ही छापतो, त्याच्यामध्ये तुम्ही एक फोटो पण देऊ शकता तुमच्या कार्यक्रम झालेल्याचा, आणि तुम्ही जे लेख लिहिणार असाल त्याचं पण आम्ही प्रकाशित करू. फक्त लेखामध्ये ऑथेंटिसिटी लक्षात घ्या. कारण पुन्हा त्याच्यात सांगतो की आता मला एक दोघांचे फोन आले की असं असं मी करतोय, तर म्हणलं ठीक आहे, मी लेख लिहू का, म्हणलं लिहा तुम्ही. म्हणलं कशावरती लिहिणार, तर त्यांनी सांगितलं असं असं. म्हणलं हे ऑथेंटिक आहे का, हे सर्वमान्य आहे का, कुठल्या याच्यात आहे का, नाही नाही हे मी शोधून काढलं. म्हणजे ते शोधून काढलं असेल तर त्याला तुमच्याकडे रिसर्च डॉक्युमेंट आहे का, की त्याचं तुम्ही व्हॅलिडिटी केली का, काय पॅरामीटर्स वापरलेत का, ते तसं जर असेल तर आम्ही प्रकाशित करू, नाही तर होणार नाही. तरी कृपया या सर्व गोष्टी लक्षात ठेवा आणि आपले लेख आमच्याकडे किंवा मस्कर गुरुजींकडे पाठवा, आम्ही ते बघू आणि त्याच्यावरती जर आम्हाला वाटलं की ते योग्य आहेत आम्ही योग सिंधूमध्ये छापू. त्याचप्रमाणे लेक्चर बद्दल पण जर कोणाला, कारण आज 2-4 दिवसापासून मला पण विचारणा आली की आम्हाला पण या प्लॅटफॉर्मवरून ते लेक्चर द्यायची संधी मिळेल का, तर आम्ही संधी जरूर देऊ. फक्त ते एक मेंबर व्हा, त्याच्यानंतर तुमचं टॉपिक जो असेल तो कसा आहे तो आम्हाला एकदा थोडं तुम्ही सांगा, मग आम्ही त्याच्यावर तुम्हाला सांगूया. ओके, तर पुन्हा एकदा सर्व साधकांचे अटेंड करले त्यांचे सगळ्यांचे आभार. त्यांचे आभार, त्यांनी सोप्या शब्दामध्ये चहा कसा बनवून प्यावा ते पण सांगितलं, त्याबद्दल पुन्हा एकदा त्यांचे धन्यवाद. आजची सभा आपण संपवूया शांतीपाठाने आणि पुन्हा पुढल्या महिन्यात आपण डेफिनेटली करू. काही थोड्या अडचणी आल्या, त्या माझ्याकडे पण काही पर्सनल प्रॉब्लेम्स होते म्हणून मी पण आउट ऑफ टच होतो, त्याच्यामुळे दर महिन्याचं लेक्चर होऊ शकलं नाही. पुढे आम्हाला जाऊन असं एक करायचं की झोनल आपल्याला 2 दिवसाची शिबिर करायची परवानगी दिलेली आहे आम्ही. त्यामध्ये तुम्ही जर ठरवलं की आम्हाला 2 दिवसाचं शिबिर करायचंय, तर त्यामध्ये आम्ही तुम्हाला टेक्निकल नो हाऊ देऊ, तुम्हाला पाहिजे त्या फॅकल्टीज आम्ही प्रोव्हाइड करू आणि कसं काय त्याचं संयोजन झालं पाहिजे त्याच्याबद्दल आम्ही तुम्हाला माहिती देऊ. त्याबद्दल पण तुम्ही आमच्याकडे विचारणा करू शकता आणि त्याच्यावरती आपण काम करूया. तर शांतीपाठाने आपण काय बोलायचं सर, मस्कर सर? मग घ्या शांतीपाठ घ्या.
हात जोडलेले आपण एकत्रचपणे शांतीपाठ म्हणूया. पूर्णमद ओम पूर्णमद पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते. ओम शांति शांति शांति. हरि ओम तत्सत. हरि ओम तत्सत.
हरि ओम. पुनश्च एकदा नवीन वर्षाच्या आणि मकर संक्रांतीच्या रथसप्तमीच्या सर्वांना शुभेच्छा आणि पुढल्या महिन्यात पुन्हा भेटूया. धन्यवाद. हरि ओम.
लाईव्ह स्ट्रीमिंग बंद करा YouTube.